Ellen DeGeneres has given away millions of dollars on her show over 19 years. Cars, houses, college tuition. She's changed countless lives. But this is the only time she stopped the cameras mid-interview, walked off stage, and told her crew, "I can't do this right now." What she learned about this woman, a single mother of three, broke something deep inside her. This is that story. Her name was Angela Morrison, 52 years old, a nurse at Children's Hospital in Los Angeles. She walked onto Ellen's stage in November 2016, and if you looked closely, she looked exhausted. Not just tired, exhausted. Ellen's producers had discovered Angela through a local news segment. The piece was short, maybe 90 seconds, about nurses who go above and beyond. Angela had been working double shifts, sometimes triple, to support her three children on her own. The producers thought it would make a nice feel-good segment. You know, hard-working mom, Ellen gives her some money, everyone cries, roll credits. But they had no idea what they were about to uncover. When Angela sat down across from Ellen, she was nervous. You could see it in the way she fidgeted with her hands. Ellen noticed too. She leaned forward and said, "Hey, just relax. We're just going to talk. Just you and me." Angela smiled, but her eyes told a different story. Ellen started with the basics. "So, Angela, you're a nurse at Children's Hospital. How long have you been doing that?" 14 years, Angela said quietly. 14 years. That's a long time. And you have 3 kids? Yes, Emily's 19, Michael's 15, and Sarah's 12. Ellen nodded. And you're raising them alone? There was a pause. Angela's jaw tightened just a little. Yes, their father left about 7 years ago. Just left one day. Packed a bag and never came back. The audience murmured. You could feel the shift in the room. Ellen didn't rush her. She just waited. That's one thing about Ellen. She knows when to be quiet. Angela continued. So, it's been just us, the 4 of us. And I do what I have to do. I work nights, weekends, holidays, whatever shifts they'll give me. Because that's what you do, right? You do what you have to do for your kids. Ellen nodded slowly. How many hours a week do you work? Angela thought for a second. I don't know. 70? 80 sometimes. 80 hours a week? Yeah. Sometimes more if they need me. Ellen leaned back in her chair. You could see her processing this. When's the last time you had a day off? Angela looked up at the ceiling like she was trying to remember. And then she said something that hit everyone in the room. I don't remember. The audience went silent. Ellen's face changed. She looked concerned now. Not TV host concerned. Really concerned. You don't remember the last time you had a full day off? No, Angela said simply. I mean, there's always something. If I'm not at work, I'm catching up on bills, or grocery shopping, or fixing something at the house. There's always something. Ellen glanced over at her producer standing off stage. Something passed between them. A look. And that's when things took a turn. Ellen turned back to Angela. Can I ask you something personal? Sure. Your daughter Emily wrote to us. Did you know that? Angela's eyes widened. She did? Yeah. She wrote us a long letter. And she told us something that you didn't mention in the news segment. Something pretty important. Angela's face went pale. She knew what was coming. Ellen's voice softened. 2 years ago, you were diagnosed with breast cancer. Stage 2. Is that right? The audience gasped. A few people covered their mouths. Angela nodded slowly. Her eyes started to well up. Yes. And you never stopped working. I couldn't afford to. Ellen's eyes filled with tears. She looked down at her note cards, then back up at Angela. You went through chemotherapy while working 80-hour weeks? It was only for a few months, Angela said, like she was trying to minimize it. The treatments were rough, but I scheduled them on my days off. Or, well, I'd trade shifts so I could go in the morning and then work the night shift after. Someone in the audience said, "Oh my God." Ellen stood up. She couldn't sit anymore. She walked a few steps, ran her hand through her hair, and then turned back to Angela. Why didn't you tell anyone? Why didn't you ask for help? Angela's voice cracked. Because everyone's got their own problems, you know. And I'm a nurse. I'm supposed to be the one helping people. I didn't want to be someone who needed help. That's when Ellen started crying. Not just teary, full tears. She sat back down and took Angela's hand. What's the hardest part? Of all of this, what's been the hardest part? Angela wiped her eyes. She took a deep breath. The hardest part is that I missed everything. First day of school, soccer games, school plays. My daughter Emily, she had to grow up so fast. She became a second mom to her brother and sister. She'd pack their lunches, help with homework, put them to bed when I was working overnight. Her voice broke completely now. I missed my babies growing up, and I can't get that back. The studio was silent except for the sound of people crying in the audience. Ellen squeezed Angela's hand. Then she looked off stage and nodded to her producer. The producer walked out onto the stage and whispered something in Ellen's ear. Ellen's face went white. She stood up and said to the audience, "Give us a second." And then she did something no one expected. "Cut the cameras," Ellen said. "Everyone out, now." The cameras stopped rolling. The audience was asked to step outside for a moment. The crew stood in the wings, confused. It was just Ellen and Angela on that stage. What happened in those 20 minutes was never filmed. But Ellen's crew later shared bits and pieces of what they witnessed. Ellen sat with Angela. No cameras, no audience, no performance, just two women who had both fought battles nobody knew about. Ellen had her own story. She'd talked about it before. Growing up poor. Being rejected by her family when she came out. Losing everything and having to rebuild. She understood what it meant to fight alone. When they finally came back on stage, Ellen's makeup was ruined. Her eyes were red. Angela was shaking. The audience filed back in, quiet and unsure. Ellen looked directly into the camera, not at the audience, at the camera, and said, "I've been doing this show for a long time, and I've met a lot of incredible people. But what Angela has done, what she's sacrificed, is something I don't think I could ever fully understand." She turned to Angela. "You've been working yourself to the bone to take care of your kids. You went through cancer alone. You never asked for help. You never complained. You just kept going." Angela tried to say something, but Ellen held up her hand. "Let me finish. Your medical bills, all of them, are paid. I'm covering all of it. Every cent. $127,000. Done." Angela gasped. She covered her mouth. "And that's not all. I'm giving you a check for $200,000. That's about a year's salary, right? So you can finally take some time off. Spend time with your kids. Rest. Heal." Angela was sobbing now, full, body-shaking sobs. "And one more thing," Ellen said, her voice breaking. "Your daughter Emily. She got into UCLA, but she couldn't afford to go, so she's been working 2 jobs to save up money." Angela nodded through her tears. "She's so smart. She wants to be a social worker, to help people like us." "Well," Ellen said, smiling through her own tears, "she's going to UCLA. Full ride, 4 years, everything covered, Tuition, room, board, everything. Angela collapsed, just folded over in her chair, hands over her face, shoulders shaking. Ellen knelt down next to her and held her. The audience was on their feet. People were openly weeping. Even the cameramen were crying. It wasn't about the money. It was about being seen. After years of invisibility, of working in the shadows, suffering in silence, someone finally saw her. When Angela could finally speak, she looked at Ellen and said, "Why? Why would you do this for me?" Ellen smiled. "Because you deserve it, and because your kids deserve to have their mom back." The two women hugged for a long time. When they finally pulled apart, Ellen looked at the audience and said, "This is why we do this show. Not for the laughs, though I love making you laugh, but for this, for moments like this." She looked back at Angela. "You're going to be okay now. I promise." That episode aired in December 2016. It became one of the most watched Ellen Show segments of all time. Over 40 million views. But the story didn't end there. Today, Angela is cancer-free. She took 6 months off work, the first real break she'd had in over a decade. She went to every single one of Sarah's soccer games that season. She helped Michael with his college applications. And she watched Emily walk across the stage at UCLA's graduation ceremony last spring. Emily is now a social worker in Los Angeles. She works with single mothers, helping them navigate the system, find resources, and most importantly, reminding them that they're not alone. Every year, on the anniversary of that Ellen Show appearance, the Morrison family sends Ellen a photo. The four of them together. Happy. Healthy. And every year, the note says the same thing. "Thank you for seeing us." This was the only time Ellen stopped the cameras during an interview, but there were 6 other times she broke down in tears on live television. The next story, about a 10-year-old boy who saved his entire family, will shatter your heart all over again. Watch it next. You won't be able to look away.